Welcome to today's deep dive. I'm your host.
And I'm your expert. Really glad to be here for this one.
Yeah, so today we're going to do something that, well, it might feel a little counterintuitive at first.
Just a little bit.
Right. I want you, the listener, to think about the skyline in your city. That backdrop you see every single day.
One you probably ignore.
Exactly.
Mm.
You look at it, and what do you see?
Most people see assets.
Right. Assets. Concrete.
Glass, steel, square footage.
Exactly.
Mm.
But today, we're going to try to convince you that you have been looking at it completely wrong. We are looking at real estate not as an asset class, but as the architecture of human life.
Which is a fundamental shift in perspective, and it's really the hook for everything we're going to talk about today.
It is. Because usually when we talk about real estate, we talk about the hardware, right? We talk about zoning laws, interest rates.
Projections.
Yeah, yield projections. We treat it entirely as a financial instrument, a line item.
But we have these two source documents today that completely upend that.
Right. I've been spending the last few days digging into this incredible, just really dense and fascinating material from an organization called EURAN. We have their real estate industry dossier and their strategic landing page.
And going through them, I mean, it doesn't read like a typical developer brochure.
Not at all.
Yeah.
It reads like a manifesto for a completely new operating system for our cities.
And the mission of this deep dive is to unpack their core argument, which is that real estate has completely forgotten its cultural power.
It really has. I mean, the documents frame this tension immediately. We currently build structures, but we do not build worlds.
Right. We optimize for yield, but we optimize without meaning.
Cities rise, but they don't resonate. They lack authorship.
Exactly. Developments right now are incredibly sophisticated financially, but they are emotionally neutral. They lack symbolic presence.
And as I was reading this, I was just fascinated by the idea that a building can be designed to feel a certain way on purpose, not just by accident or as an afterthought, but as the primary intention.
Well, I'm ready to get into it because the dossier does an amazing job analyzing the systemic failures of our current models, and then it provides this proposed cultural operating system to fix all that fragmentation.
So let's jump right into section 1, the opening premise. Reframing real estate as cultural infrastructure.
Right, and we need to pause on that term, cultural infrastructure.
Because normally, infrastructure means sewage pipes.
Power grids, highways, the boring stuff.
Boring, but essential. So what do they mean by cultural infrastructure?
The dossier asserts that real estate isn't just an asset class. It is the physical expression of a region's ambition. It shapes identity.
It shapes cultural presence.
Exactly. Think about physical infrastructure. A highway connects two physical points. EURAN argues that real estate, as cultural infrastructure, connects us to our identity.
It's the environment where human life actually happens.
And they use this brilliant phrase. They call buildings psychological environments.
Psychological environments. That really struck me.
Because they aren't just containers for people. You don't just put people in and take them out. The space shapes you.
It tells your nervous system how to react.
Exactly. And that leads to their concept of developments as cultural engines.
Right. A building shouldn't just sit there passively. It needs to actively generate identity and meaning.
Which brings us to EURAN's core definition. They reframe real estate as authored emotional infrastructure.
Authored emotional infrastructure. That implies someone actually wrote the story.
Yes, it means there is an intent behind the emotion of the space. It's not an accident. Real estate is the most visible, permanent expression of economic power we have, yet we rarely treat it as a cultural act.
We treat it as a spreadsheet.
Exactly, which is the perfect segue into the structural problems they outline.
Let's do that. Because section 2 of the dossier is basically a clinical diagnostic of the real estate industry.
And we should clarify, it doesn't read like a complaint.
No, it's very clinical.
Yeah.
It's diagnosing exactly why our modern cities feel so generic.
So let's go through the 8 structural problems they identified.
Problem 1. Real estate is treated as a financial instrument, not a cultural system.
This is the root of the issue. Developments are driven by yield projections. They are driven by spreadsheets.
So if a spreadsheet is designing the building,
the result is an environment that is financially optimized but emotionally neutral, or just completely empty.
Because you can't easily put emotional resonance into a cell on a spreadsheet.
Exactly. If it doesn't show an immediate, obvious return in standard metrics, it gets value engineered right out of the project.
Which leads to problem 2, Fragmentation.
The silo issue.
Yeah, explain how this works in a typical development.
Okay, so think about a major new tower. You have the architect, they do the massing, the shell of the building.
Right.
Then you hire an interior designer for the lobby.
Completely different firm, usually.
Completely different. Then you get a landscape architect to pick the plants for the plaza.
And finally, you bring in a branding agency.
Right, to slap a logo on the front door and call it a day.
So what's the result of all that?
The result is a collage. It's a collage of disconnected decisions rather than a coherent world. None of those teams are working from the same cultural operating system.
Which makes the building feel disjointed.
Very much so.
And when developers realize it feels disjointed, they try to fix it. Which brings us to problem 3. Over-reliance on architectural spectacle and lifestyle branding.
This one is so common. You see a generic building, so the developer hires a Starchitect to give it an iconic facade, a crazy roofline, or a massive sculpture out front.
Or they use all those buzzwords.
Oh yeah, creative hub, urban village.
Live, work, play.
Exactly. But the dossier's verdict on this is fascinating. They say these are aesthetic tools trying to solve cultural problems.
Aesthetic tools for cultural problems, meaning they look good, but they don't feel like anything.
Right. They provide a lot of visual impact, may be great for a photo, but they lack true emotional depth.
Which is problem 4, the absence of emotional architecture.
Cities are emotional landscapes. We navigate them based on how they make us feel, but developers rarely design for feelings or transitions.
Yeah, think about a typical office lobby. It's generic, it's interchangeable. You just want to pass through it as fast as possible.
Because it wasn't designed with emotional intention.
And because this financial model is standard everywhere, we get problem 5, global homogenization.
It's the standardization of everything. Globalized, risk-averse models mean that a building in Dubai looks exactly like a building in Miami.
Which looks exactly like a building in Singapore.
Everything is the same. Standardized solutions replacing local cultural identity.
Then we have problem 6, lack of narrative coherence in mixed-use developments.
Mixed use is the buzzword of the decade. But the problem is, as the dossier points out, mixed use often becomes mixed identity.
Because the residential part feels completely different from the office part.
And the retail feels completely disconnected from both. They don't feel like they belong to the same story.
Which brings us to the public spaces. Problem 7, the inability to create meaningful public spaces.
Public spaces are so often treated as just regulatory requirements. The city says you need a plaza, so you pour some concrete.
Or they are just circulation zones, places to walk through.
Exactly. They lack symbolic anchors. They lack any emotional intention to make you want to stay.
And finally, problem 8, the root cause of it all, the absence of cultural infrastructure.
Without an underlying system to guide all these stakeholders, the architects, the designers, the managers, you just get fragmentation.
Okay, so that's the diagnosis.
Oh.
The patient is financially sophisticated, but emotionally empty.
So what's the cure?
That brings us to section 3, the EURAN intervention.
Culture as the missing operating system.
I love that framing, an operating system.
Yeah.
Like software for the built environment.
Exactly. EURAN's core solution isn't to just design better facades. They author the invisible architecture that unifies the entire project.
Let's break down these systems because they define them very specifically. And we need to explain these as structural solutions, not just decorative ideas.
Right. Let's start with System 1, the art-driven spatial method.
So this is not just hanging a painting in the lobby at the end.
Not at all. It is a generative tool, meaning it comes first. EURAN uses artistic structures like chromatic fields or geometric rhythms to define the DNA of the building before the architecture is even finalized.
So the art is the foundation.
Yes. The chromatic field dictates the mood, the temperature of the space. The geometric rhythm informs the physical layout. It's structural.
That leads to System 2, narrative architecture.
This is how they solve the mixed-use fragmentation problem. Narrative architecture unifies those spaces into a coherent journey.
So every pathway is a bridge.
And every zone is a chapter in the same story.
Yeah.
You don't feel like you are stepping into a different building when you go from the retail level to the residential lobby.
System 3 is really interesting, the personalization engine.
This takes the idea of personalizing a room
Yeah.
and applies it to the urban scale. It creates adaptive atmospheres.
Right, because a city shouldn't feel the same at 8 a.m. as it does at 8 p.m.
Exactly. The personalization engine adapts the atmosphere, the lighting, the acoustics, the energy based on the time of day or the season.
Morning clarity versus evening intimacy.
It makes the district feel like a living, breathing thing.
We'll skip over System 4, the cultural monetization engine for just a second, because we are going to do a deep dive on finances later.
Good call.
So System 5, the Art Center.
Now, when people hear art center, they usually think of a gallery.
Right, a quiet room with white walls.
But in the EURAN system, the art center is the nucleus of the development. It is the engine room.
The engine room that holds the artistic universe.
It holds the symbolic language of the entire project. Everything radiates out from there. It is the reference point for the identity of the district.
Which flows into System 6, the bridges system.
We mentioned bridges earlier. This system ensures emotional continuity. It connects the property to the wider ecosystem.
So connecting to aviation hubs, maritime ports, or just linking different scales within the development itself.
Right. You don't want a massive disconnect between the airport arrival and the hotel lobby. The bridges system smooths those transitions.
And lastly, System 7, the constellation engine.
This is for large-scale developments. If you have multiple buildings or an entire district, the constellation engine maps the narrative structure across all of them.
So it's not just one building with a story, it's a symbolic landscape.
A network of meaning.
Okay, so those are the systems, but how do they actually look in practice?
Let's apply them. Section 4 of the dossier translates all of this into real estate-specific applications.
Let's start with emotional architecture, applying this to lobbies, offices, residences, and public spaces.
So take the art-driven spatial method. In a lobby, it creates a specific feeling. Maybe it's a feeling of arrival, of sanctuary.
Using those chromatic fields.
Right. The chromatic field defines the exact temperature of a plaza. The geometric structures inform the rhythm of a facade. It's not arbitrary. It's designed to make you feel grounded.
What about those adaptive atmospheres at the district scale? The personalization engine in action.
So imagine a district that is a responsive organism. In winter, the system shifts to provide a sense of calm and warmth.
During a local event, it shifts to festival luminosity.
And every morning, it shifts to morning vibrancy to get people energized for the workday. The district adapts to what the humans inside it actually need.
And then there's cultural monetization across asset classes.
This is where meaning becomes monetizable. It's not just branding. When a space resonates emotionally, people place higher value on it, whether that's residential, commercial, or retail.
And the Art Center acts as the identity engine for all of that.
Yes. It ensures the development is known as a cultural landmark. It stops being just a commercial real estate project and becomes a destination. It's the anchor.
I really like how they apply the bridges system for emotional continuity.
It solves the generic corridor problem.
Yes, corridors are usually the worst part of any building.
Because they're just functional. But with the bridges system, movement through the building becomes a narrative experience.
Using light, using sound, using geometry.
So you aren't just walking down a hallway, you are transitioning from one emotional state to another.
And for the big developers listening, the Constellation Engine allows for multi-building narrative mapping.
Designing emotional arcs that unfold across an entire master plan. It's world building on a massive scale.
But it also scales down to the smallest moments. The integration of artistic logic into daily rituals.
This is where it touches daily life. Enhancing rituals like arriving home, commuting, gathering with friends.
Making those everyday moments feel intentional.
Right. Through lighting sequences or symbolic anchors in the space, the entire development becomes a continuous artwork that you live inside.
Now, I can hear the executives and developers out there listening to this.
They are saying, this sounds beautiful, but is it practical?
Exactly. The executive check. Does this actually work in the real world?
Which is what Section 5 is all about, operational feasibility. And the dossier makes a very strong argument that, yes, this is entirely practical.
Let's run through their operational logic. Point 1, integration into property management.
Cultural systems don't work against property management, they work with it. Cultural identity actually becomes an operational ally because it gives the management team a clear framework. They aren't guessing what the vibe should be. The operating system dictates it.
What about the regulations? Building codes? Fire safety?
Compatibility with regulatory frameworks is built in from day one. These systems are designed to completely respect safety codes, fire ratings, accessibility standards.
So it's not art versus safety.
No, it's art integrated with safety. For example, the lighting sequences. They are designed to be fully compliant with emergency protocols. If an alarm goes off, the art defers to the safety systems immediately.
Okay, but is it developer-friendly?
Very. The systems are developer-friendly and modular. They can be integrated directly into existing workflows without derailing the timeline.
And they mentioned modular and reversible design.
Which is crucial for phased development. You can deploy these systems in stages, and because they are modular, they can be updated or reversed without tearing down the physical structure.
That leads right into technical integration.
Right.
Yeah.
You are already putting in HVAC, lighting grids, security networks. URAN's artistic logic just informs the hardware that is already being installed. You don't necessarily need a parallel network. You just program the existing tech with a cultural operating system.
And it's scalable.
Scalability across portfolios. Whether you have one building or a regional pipeline, the system works. It balances large-scale scalability with the individuality of each specific site.
Now, the big question every facility manager has: maintenance.
The dossier calls it maintenance-friendly cultural infrastructure. They prioritize materials selected for durability and high traffic.
So it's not delicate art that you have to tiptoe around.
Exactly. It's built for the realities of an urban environment.
And lastly, training.
You have to have training and onboarding systems. Property managers, concierges, tenant coordinators, they all get onboarded so they understand how to actually operate the culture of the building day to day.
So the system is practical, it's compliant, and it's scalable. But does it make money?
The ultimate question.
Section 6, financial uplift. Because at the end of the day, this is real estate.
And the dossier is unambiguous here. Culture produces measurable financial outcomes.
Let's look at the financial logic. Driver 1, cultural identity as the primary driver of real estate value.
It used to be all about location, then it became about amenities.
Right. Who has the best gym, the best rooftop pool?
But amenities are a race to the bottom now. Everyone has a gym. So identity replaces amenities as the main differentiator. An authored cultural identity is unique.
Which creates scarcity. And scarcity drives value.
Exactly. Take residential premiums. Emotional coherence increases perceived value. People are willing to pay more for meaning.
They are paying to belong to a world, not just a floor plan.
And we see the same thing in office, leasing uplift.
Offices are struggling right now. Why does this help?
Because corporate tenants want environments that actually reflect their values and support employee well-being. A generic office doesn't do that. A space with an authored emotional infrastructure does. It increases leasing velocity.
What about retail? Retail performance uplift.
This comes down to emotional gravity. If a place feels good, if it has that festival luminosity we talked about,
People stay longer.
exactly. It increases footfall and dwell time. Public spaces become destinations, and that directly helps retail conversion.
And hospitality uplift follows the same logic.
Hotels within these districts benefit from the narrative coherence. They can charge premium rates because the entire district is an experience.
Which also solves the public space problem. Public realm monetization.
Normally, a public plaza is a cost center. You have to clean it, light it, maintain it. But through cultural programming and this operational system, those spaces turn into economic catalysts.
District-wide uplift.
The rising tide lifts all the buildings in the constellation.
And driver number 8 is probably the most important for the long-term investors. Long-term symbolic value.
Irreplicability. You can copy a building's shape. You can copy its amenities. You cannot copy an authored cultural identity.
It anchors the building and the culture.
And that creates resilience against market cycles. When the market dips, the buildings with true symbolic value are the ones that hold their worth.
Meaning produces measurable financial outcomes.
It really does.
Which brings us to our final section, Section 7, the closing and the strategic invitation.
The dossier and the landing page both conclude with the same logic. We are entering a new era.
The era shift.
Real estate is fundamentally changing. Identity is replacing amenities.
Meaning is replacing square meters.
And cultural presence is replacing mere occupancy.
The consequence is clear. Developments that act now will define the next chapter of our cities.
And those that don't. They will remain financially optimized but emotionally neutral. They will be left behind as generic structures.
The landing page has this authored invitation that is so direct. It says 20 minutes, one conversation, a new era for your real estate identity.
It's an invitation to step out of the spreadsheet and start building worlds.
So to you, our listener, I want to leave you with a final provocation. Think about the spaces you navigate every day, the building you are sitting in right now, the district you live in.
Take a real look at it.
Ask yourself, is this just a structure? Or is it a world? Does it have an author or just an architect? Because the invisible architecture around you is shaping your daily life, your mood, and your identity, whether you realize it or not.
It's time to start demanding more from the places we live.
Exactly. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
See you next time.